Through May 21st, rides on the Fairmount Indigo line will be free of charge. The offer was made possible by the generosity of Congressman Mike Capuano, but the campaign is only one of several efforts to attract more riders and make the service more user-friendly. Our guest is one of the line's advocates at the State House, representing adjacent neighborhoods in Dorchester and Mattapan. We'd like to welcome State Representative Russell Holmes. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks again for having me, Chris.
First of all, I want to talk about the news story today, because this is a line that did have a stretch with some missing trains last year. Maybe there weren't enough trains, but now the federal government has looked into it and they say, okay, it's a problem, but not necessarily a civil rights violation.
Well, I guess that's the point. It's a problem. But when you look at all the lines, what we read and what we heard, even when I had the discussion on yesterday, is that all the lines were underperforming. So what was great is Keolis came out with the general manager and the president and had a neighborhood meeting and discussed that and just said that they had essentially intentionally put that last train overnight on our line. And so what they did is they now have distributed that across every network. And now, as they try to get more cars online, they will make it so that it is more fair across all the lines. But on the issue with Capuano, I was very happy that he stood up and called the federal folks to come in and look at it, and that's a good result that hopefully we can always keep a good eye on them as they move forward.
Well, speaking of service quality, aside from those canceled trips, when the trains run, they seem to run pretty well.
They do, but the other thing about the canceled trips is that some of the activists felt like those canceled trips weren't being counted as a part of the performance. And so I did talk to David and to the head of Keolis as well, and they were being included. And the Fairmount line is the highest performing line. And so the point of what we're trying to do now is to get this highest performing reliability line to be one that people use, and so that we can then encourage the secretary and others to get us more rides and more, about $200,000 more for each train that we run up and down the line.
Well, in the short term, there are some improvements on the way, and one of which I think is in your district, the new station.
Sure. Well, it's not actually in my district, but it's actually where I grew up. And so it's hopefully going to start, I'm not going to announce today, but we're hoping very soon after the 2 weeks end on the free rides, we're hopefully in the next week or two after that, we'll open up that line and have the groundbreaking. And then it's going to probably take a year and a half or so to get the line up and running.
Now, this seems to have a lot of potential.
Or the station up and running, I apologize.
Because having a station near Blue Hill Avenue, which is, I think, where this is going to be, a lot of people there, because you've got people who come into Mattapan Square on connecting service, so it's a short
so
walk.
If you look at the Go Boston 2030, the analysis we did, there was about 1,200 people we think should naturally be able to walk over to the station. And so of that 1,200, we're hoping to catch, even if we can catch 15–20% of that, that would be a substantial increase on the line. And so it gives us an opportunity to now get to southern Mattapan, which I call Fairlawn Estates, in that whole area, and also obviously the largest business district in Mattapan and Mattapan Square. And so we're going to hope to have folks be willing to go from Mattapan Square to South Bay. Even that ride, even if you're not going all the way downtown, we're hopefully hoping that folks will find that to be more convenient, even to get to South Bay. Think about how hard it is to get South Bay today from Mattapan, but to be able to be down there in 10 or 15 minutes, that opens up a lot of opportunities for people.
The other thing that's going to be happening in the near future is going to be some kind of changes in how people pay to ride line, because one of the secrets for many people is that this is as cheap as the red line and the orange line.
It may be a secret, but it was a hard-fought win for the activists and for us. And so what interesting was at Mattapan Square, that new station, the guidelines for across the state, they only had to be adjusted just a small amount to not impact every other line across the state. And so to get the Mattapan station in, the station was only, I think, 0.1 mile or something outside of the standard range to be able to just charge $2.25. So we did that. The T was agreeable to that. And so now everywhere from Mattapan in is just a normal ride. And so now the challenge with automated fare collection 2, as it begins to come online, is how do we transfer people from the Fairmount line into a seamless system into the red line and the others without having to worry about a Charlie card and things of that nature. And so we're hoping to get that done with the automatic fare collection, but the challenge still becomes we do not want people who are paying with cash to ever pay more than the person with the smartphone.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with State Representative Russell Holmes. When I was at the ceremony promoting the line this week, I saw one train pull up, I think maybe more than 100 students.
Yes, we love seeing that.
And talk about why that's happening, because it's not just because the kids are smart, it's because the grassroots effort, I guess.
Absolutely, and so we're going to try to push the grassroots efforts out even more. So when we get kids on, obviously they're smart, they are smart indeed, but just letting folks be more aware of it. And so even as I said earlier this week, my staff person, my new staff person, used to take the 21 or 31 to go to Forest Hills. He got on this morning, which is just across the street, almost 3-4 minutes from his house, and just said, wow, what a incredibly better ride to just get on and be downtown in 20 minutes or so and just walk over to the State House. So we're going to be knocking on doors, some of the electeds in our districts, to let people know. My understanding is the activists are going to be in the trains every day giving out flyers, because even though folks are still taking the train today, they may not realize that it's even free for the next 2 weeks. And so we're trying to get as much awareness out as possible.
I have a feeling when I follow this development around this line over the past few years is that if you ever want to get the service that you really want, which is, I guess, more frequent, more
Sure.
like a regular rapid transit, people got to get out there and ride this.
They do, and so as part of the Go Boston 2030 plan, one of the rides, or one of the ideas, was to spend $4 million just to get more frequency on the ride. So it costs about $200,000 per year for each level of service. Today it's about 50 minutes or so between trains. I think it'll make a world of difference just to get another 20 rides during the day. If you can get another 4 or 5 rides in the morning, or even 10 rides in the morning, and in the evening, it will cut that time down from 50 minutes down. If we can get it every 15 minutes, I think a lot more people would ride it. And so that will be the first push, is to try to get more frequency, because it's very reliable, but folks who might miss it are saying, I don't want to wait 50 minutes for the next ride.
In your district, I think there's a lot of concern about transportation inequity, because it does take longer to get, I guess, to the center of downtown.
Appropriate concern. So in the study we did, Go Boston 2030, it is Mattapan who's the most disadvantaged folks for getting downtown. And so that is why when you look at the Mattapan, Dorchester, Roxbury study that we did, it's still that gap between the orange line and the red line, right up Blue Avenue, where you still have nothing but buses that get us down to Dudley, and then from Dudley we can then try to get on over to the orange line. And so trying to get folks from Mattapan into the city is appropriately the biggest concern, and we're hoping to find every way we can. So in Go Boston 2030, we're looking at a bus rapid transit from Mattapan to the Longwood Medical area. We're looking at more service along Fairmount, because of the fact that we still turn down what we call 28X, which was the dedicated bus lanes through up and down Blue Avenue, and I'm still a proponent of saying yes, we should still consider that as well.
What about the side effects of that? Because what you gain in faster service for the buses, you give up maybe in parking. I'm sure there are a lot of business owners who aren't going to like that.
Well, remember, it was a dedicated busway. It is straight down. Is essentially what you're giving away is some of the green space that you have with the trees and things of that nature in the middle. But if done right, the businesses will see a boom, because of the fact that now you can get up and down that avenue very different than you are now, stuck in traffic. And so I think of it as like the green line with buses. And so you don't think of going down the B line or C line and thinking that those businesses are disadvantaged. And I think we can do the same with this.
Well, of course, the city wants everybody to think multimodal here.
Sure.
In bikes, you've got a new Greenway extension opening up that comes into Mattapan Square, too.
We do. And we're going to spend $20 million, the state, and we're looking to get you from downtown on a bike all the way through Mattapan and all the way up until the Blue Hills. And so I think that's going to open in about a month or so. We're a little bit behind. The state DCR folks are a little bit behind, but again, another boon where we're hoping to build on the lot at Mattapan Square at the train station, open up potentially a coffee shop or a bike repair place right in that old furniture building that I think would just be incredible for folks to think, let's repair the bike, get on the bike, go all the way through, and you can ride downtown. So we're hoping that, plus the parks and all the many things that we're doing, will continue to encourage folks to have the great image they should have about Mattapan.
Well, one thing anybody riding the Fairmount Indigo line would notice is that there's a lot of new housing that you can see looking right out the window. It's good that you have more supply. What about the concerns around gentrification, rents going up in some of these neighborhoods?
So just on yesterday, after as mentioned, we then went over to Cotman Square, and there were 4 new affordable units, sites coming up with 44 new units. So I think the activists and the electeds are very concerned as well. The mayor, myself, and Senator Forey had some legislation last year to take some of the state and city-owned properties and dedicate those to affordable housing units as well. And then the mayor negotiated with the state to not even lead that legislation. So the city-owned properties, the state-owned properties, we're looking to have some legislation and some contingencies around making sure that they stay affordable.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
State Representative Russell Holmes.